Yes, that's right. I'm going to be the first to say it. Going to be right out with it. I think the Maple Leafs should consider trading Nick Robertson right now. There is a point to it, guys. Okay? Sam McKee on Twitter the other day said it. He's having a really good preseason. Maybe we might want to trade him when the stock on the player is high. This always happens where we wait until a player's value is low and then get rid of him. Now, I always try to steel man the other side of the debate's argument. And what that means is that I'm trying to give them the time of day. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to be right about this. It's just my opinion. But we have seen in the history of the NHL, at least when I've watched it, a lot of players that have had teams where they have preseason heroes. Essentially they have players that are, play really good. They bury 4 goals in preseason. Then they kind of fade back to what they usually were. Now, the pushback to this is going to be that, Nick Robertson was on pace for whatever amount of goals. He was on pace for he got 15 goals. I think he was on pace for close to 20 with about 10 minutes of ice time. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean if his ice time increases that he will be better. It just means that he might be better. He might be better, but you have to learn how to play at a top 6 level to begin with. And I'm not sure if Robertson can actually do that. He can score goals, but being in a top 6 role is more than just scoring goals. You have to be able to play against other top 6 players. If guys like McDavid and Crosby jump over the boards and, can Robertson do that? I do struggle with this. Does he deserve an opportunity? You could make that argument. I'm not saying that argument is completely wrong. I just am sick and tired of the Leafs trading players when their stocks are at absolutely the lowest that they can ever be. It might actually be a smart thing to trade him now. Now, this depends on what you can get for him. The whole time, I was completely fine if the Leafs traded him for a second-round pick, and I hold to that. Right now, if there's a team that's willing to give you a second-round pick for Nick Robertson, or perhaps a younger player, let's just pick something out of a hat. I actually like Simon Holmstrom. I think that's his name from the New York Islanders, a pretty good young player. Something around those guidelines of another younger, relatively disgruntled player. I actually think that would be pretty great. I wouldn't mind something like that. You would get an asset back, and then you could just move on from the situation. Now, he is still pretty young, and obviously you're going to be able to make the point that, maybe if you give him time, maybe he does deserve a chance. Maybe, and this is another point of view, maybe if you do actually want to trade him, you could pump his numbers up in season, right? You could put him on the power play, get him on pace for 28, 29, 30 goals, and then you could really acquire an asset for him. Perhaps you could get a really good third-line center and a draft pick back because he's just absolutely killing it this season, and a player and a team that might not make the playoffs has a really good third-line center might look at that as a trade for their future, right? So you could use him to plug a hole in season. So I'm not necessarily saying that you need to trade him now, but I do believe that this is a player that the Maple Leafs might want to do what I call a pump and dump. Do you remember when the Leafs traded Dion Phaneuf and his contract was horrible, and they literally just put him on the top power play unit and they got him a bunch of second assists and then they shipped him off to Ottawa? That's absolutely what the Leafs were doing there. And not that this is exactly similar thing, it just might be what you might want to do here. In one regard, Nick Robertson is a talented player. He just straight up is. He really, really, really does have a beautiful shot. Honestly, his skating has actually gotten a little bit better. I've never been a fan of his skating style, but he has improved just getting around the ice a little bit better, and I will have to say that. Before, I actually thought he was kind of slow for a smaller guy, but he has improved in that regard. I'm just saying that I really think that this is going to be a pump and dump season, and the Leafs should at least explore this point of view, because You always look back at all these moves. Like, I remember, like, the Leafs should have traded Van Riemsdyk when they had the chance. I mean, there were similar teams that were giving up, like, first-round picks, for Van Riemsdyk type players, not Van Riemsdyk himself. And the whole time I was like, man, like, they're giving up a lot. Like, is it so insane to maybe trade Van Riemsdyk at that point? Like, I don't know. I kind of like GMs that trade when the stock is high on a player. For example, let's take a Vegas Golden Knights. They have a really good prospect, and then the stock is really high on them, and they use that value of a high prospect and a high valued prospect to trade them. You know what I mean? Like, it's actually very ruthless what they do, but I mean, it works. You know what I mean? Like, they won the cup and they traded Nick Suzuki when he had really high value. Now, Nick Suzuki is actually a pretty good player. He's definitely a top 6 type player, and that's worked out for the Habs because they got a good player back for, I believe, Pacioretty. They traded in that trade, but it worked out for the Golden Knights too, because they got a big time player back, right? For example, if you were to trade Nick Robertson at his absolute highest value, is that so outrageous? Like, for example, if they traded Easton Cowan, would they have been able to get a player for a top type value, like a really serious player? Would they have been able to make a better run at it, right? If they had better center depth, better scoring depth? Could the Leafs have at least gone on some kind of run right now? Maybe, maybe not. But it has shown that teams can win this way. They can win this way by trading prospects at their high point and getting assets back. Right? It doesn't mean it's going to work out. I'm just saying that, you might want to do it. It's not that outrageous. Anyways, I'm going to leave the video there. Why don't you tell me what you think about this? Drop it in the comments below, like, comment, and subscribe, and have a great day, guys. Goodbye.